everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are really excited today. We are here to talk about shifting gears. It has made its mark, and we're going to talk about it.
Yes.
And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and I have with me the host of the Hit or Miss Hallmark YouTube channel. It's the first time on the podcast. We have John and Daniela here. And thank you both so much for coming on and talking with us.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah.
We're more than honored
I'm
to
so
be
excited
on
for
your
this.
show.
Yes. So why don't you both, introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your channel, kind of what you do.
Sure.
So Hit or Miss Hallmark movie reviews, we try and take a cinematic approach to reviewing Hallmark movies.
Which seems kind of
Pretty
counterintuitive
try,
sometimes.
yes.
Yeah.
We pay particular attention to aspects such as framing, shots, dialogue, pacing. And
Heavy on production.
heavy on production,
Yeah.
actually. And story. I would say story
Well, of
as
course,
well,
but they're
because story
packaged
is
in, right? All of these stories kind of warm the heart, even if you don't like them,
Yeah.
they're still heartwarming.
We have a Hallmark checklist that kind of goes through kind of what you would expect in a Hallmark movie, the tropes, if you will. And then ultimately we decide if it's a hit or miss for us.
Unless it's Christmas.
Unless it's Christmas, we have a different rating.
So half the time it's different.
What's your Christmas rating?
We do it out of 12. Just the
12 days of Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it gives us a little more leeway.
It's so cool because I had found you guys, and because I'm so busy with this podcast, a lot of times I miss when there's new channels or other channels. Sometimes but I had found you guys, and I was really enjoying your reviews, and I'd reached out to you, and then just by chance, Danielle and I were both part of the Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
Christmas aficionado tournament, whatever you want to call it.
That same week.
That was cool.
That was pretty fun, I thought.
That was fun. Yeah. So now now we're together here.
Yeah, I guess it's the season to make rounds. It kind of, we actually took sort of a couple weeks off because there's a dip in the schedule, like a very rare dip in the schedule, and then we're already behind. So
I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, it's true. It's so weird because they put in this random movie in February that I couldn't even finish. It was so terrible. But that in the middle of Jane Austen month, they put in this other movie, and then they have 3 weeks where they have no movies in March.
Yeah.
I was like, why didn't you just save that? Even though it was terrible, why didn't you just save it until March? It makes so much of what Hallmark does makes no sense. I'm like,
no, they just had so much going on. Like I'm like, oh, that's so weird. Why would they do that? And then I'm like, yeah, it must be crazy over there. It's like, who else puts out this many movies a year? It's like, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's just I feel like sometimes I run the podcast better than they run.
Well, I would say some of the fans are a little more organized.
I know. I can't even imagine what goes on behind the scenes, though, to manage that chaos.
Yeah.
I can only assume.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
I would too. Oh, man, I would love to be a fly on the wall, especially, man, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall of When Calls the Heart last season. Because, right around
drama.
Yeah, right around episode 5, all of a sudden they had this they'd been building up this one relationship between Faith and Nathan, and then all of a sudden they have this bizarre conversation in episode 5 where they're like, we just don't work as a couple. We tried it and we need to move on. And I'm like, what are you talking? Dated you?
But
it makes no sense.
We're not up to date on that show because we've been saving the TV. We wanted to package it differently, and we know that we can do it in a different way. So it's not a spoiler alert, but I know with a show with a cast like that, there's no way you can keep everybody happy. That one's built to spill because it's obviously if somebody has
completely changed in one episode the entire trajectory of the entire season, and I'm like, there has to be something behind that.
Something logistical, maybe.
Always. You can almost read into it with a show that big, where it's like, oh well, he had a schedule conflict, and they had to take him out of the show. Like that's it. It's the old soap opera rule, right?
Yeah, it was wild. So I don't know. It's crazy, but yeah. So how long have you been kind of interested in Hallmark movies? What kind of gave you the inspiration to start the channel?
Now, I've been watching Hallmark movies, I would say, consistently since about, 2019. No, sooner.
No, yeah, you're way sooner than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're closer to 2013.
Yeah, I would say consistently.
I didn't start watching consistently until 2018, 2019. But she was the one that kind of showed me the dailies of it.
Uh-huh.
We would always just find that we would have like these conversations afterwards, whether they were, positive or negative. We always had something to say about these Hallmark movies, and there was always a reason for us to come back. We just liked the way they made us feel. Like it's just like comforting and cozy and nice.
But then also going back and watching some of the old ones and actually seeing a transition where Hallmark kind of, they carved their way into a mainstream looking and feeling like package. Like I still feel like the whole made for TV cringe that most people associate with Hallmark, the people that don't watch, of course, is not really there. It's like people don't give it as much of a chance. Our channel was really supposed to be like, no, you got to give these movies a chance. Yeah, when they're bad, they're bad. But
that's what I always say. Like just like anything else, like any studio will have good movies and bad movies. Like
definitely, yeah.
Of course.
It's so weird to me, especially when people will say things like that, like straight to my face. Like they know what I do and they know the podcast I have, and they're like, "Well, yeah, Hallmark movies are terrible," and I'm like, "You know who I am, right?" Like I think it's so weird that people feel
it's kind of rude. I mean, it's like a thing. It's like, oh no, I hate horror. It's like, yeah, that's a general thing people would say, but it's kind of the same thing as like, I listen to all music except jazz and country.
Yeah, they're too quick. They're just too quick to make an assumption. They don't know, especially if they don't watch them.
Let's see.
I mean, my mom is one of our. Oh, sorry.
No. I was just gonna say. Sometimes I feel like people think it's a bit. That I'm putting on like a bit, and I'm like, no, I actually like them. I don't do bits. I'm not phony like that.
No.
I feel like that would be a hard bit, and like not one is exactly. It's a big commitment for not.
That's a lot of my life.
That's a lot of watch hours for a bit. But
of course.
No, we genuinely enjoy them.
And it was actually the channel was more like we wanted to do a channel, and we were watching these movies consistently and having conversations about them.
So let's just film us. Let's film us talking about it, and that's how it all started. Really, yeah.
I guess it's like with anybody.
Long, really. It's only been 3 years, maybe just under 3 years. Yeah.
So, what are your all's background? Are you just sort of film fans, or do you have background in the industry?
So we're independent filmmakers. Okay. So we have a bunch of like short films that we've done. I have a 9-to-5 job in design and web. So it's, somewhat creative. But really the passion is filmmaking, storytelling. And John comes from like a sound background.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked in TV and film for like over 25 years, but doing music composition. And a lot of advertising. So, the same industry. I know a lot of the people that produce in Canada Toronto. Because, for sure.
And when you do independent films, you need a good sound guy. That's imperative because sound makes or breaks your film.
You all should definitely be watching The Way Home because that's all filmed in Toronto.
We're definitely going
to.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's all in Toronto?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't know that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I didn't
really
know that
cool.
either.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's all in Toronto.
That one's definitely on the list, and that will probably be our first voyage into the Hallmark TV side.
Yes,
that's a good one to start with.
Ventured off. It's solely just been Hallmark movies so far.
And it just got picked up for season 3, so
that's awesome. Yeah, we want to do it for sure. We just wanted to do it in maybe a different format. Maybe do like a watch along, maybe do some voiceover. I don't know. We want to experiment with the format of that.
That could be fun. That could be fun. Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Well, very cool. Well, let's dive in. We're talking about Shifting Gears, the latest Hallmark movie. And this I don't know if it was officially part of Spring into Love or this was sort of a separate thing. Yeah, it looks like it's on the poster.
Yeah, I think
Spring into
so.
Love. And so
The first
this
spring.
this stars Tyler Hines and Kat Barrell, and it is directed by Yankee Crystal Lowe and writer Matt Marks. And it's after female mechanic Jess reluctantly agrees to participate in a car restoration show. She is shocked to learn that her ex-boyfriend Luke is her main competitor. Will Sparks reignite? So there we go. That's sort of the summary.
IMDb.
Star-crossed auto mechanic lovers.
Yes.
I dig it.
You know
Yeah,
what?
so-
It definitely had a unique spin. I'll give it that.
Yeah. I mean, overall, what did you think of the movie?
I think it was a subpar story, a subpar plot that was elevated by the performances. I liked the performances, but I wasn't a huge fan of the story. I thought it meandered a little bit, but
I will go to bat for the story a little bit and say
Okay.
it was quite original, and I did like it a little bit more than her. I can see where, you know, just the turn, like even just being about cars, it lost her, right?
not to be completely like.
I'm with you. I hate cars.
No, exactly. Well, you know, so it's hard not to, and I'm not even a big car fan, but I kind of just tried to get into it as much as possible.
Yeah.
I was hesitant about this one from the get-go because of the story. I didn't know how to approach the cars. I will say though that I was trying to keep an open mind because of, you know, how this story came about and how it was the director's first movie, and she was the first participant of the Hallmark Maker Mark.
Yeah,
this is very important.
Founded by none other than Ashley Williams, so that's cool. So I really wanted to love it. I wanted to keep an open mind. I wanted to be supportive. But I just, you know, I just found there was too many faults in it for me. I didn't necessarily believe the chemistry between them either. I thought individually they both did okay. I thought Tyler was more of the standout for me in this one. I mean, it's okay. So Tyler, you know, we could go on a bit of a rant.
We disagree here, where it's like I feel the performances were both very good, and I did feel they had chemistry. I really liked. I really liked Kat and Tyler together. I have a weird relationship with Tyler, where it's like I don't see chemistry with him and a lot of people. He's too cool.
But most people would be the opposite of that. I think most people see chemistry with him and like a bunch of people.
Well, I know, but that's a starry-eyed girl thing. Sorry, not to be chauvinist, but you know, you have to take a little bit. I see it with him.
For me, I thought it was okay. It was passable. I think if you are looking for your basic Hallmark movie, it's fine. But I had some issues. Yeah, the story is again very basic. We've seen this basically
a million
times. Basic.
It had a lot of tropes.
And it's fine. Like it really, I feel like it's fine. But I do think that, like, I like Tyler. I do, and I do think this is better than his last two movies. I wasn't a big fan of either of his movies last year. But I'm a little tired of this like cool guy Tyler. It's not for me. I do not find this like motorcycle like pulling down the handkerchief that you know that is not sexy to me. That is not like it just feels so try hard, and I liked him.
It'll only work for so long.
I liked him way better when he was humble and sweet and you know, like a good listener. And his earlier parts, I just enjoyed those way better. And he was like a little bit awkward. He wasn't trying to be like the cool guy on the motorcycle. That just does nothing for me. It is not.
You know what, Rachel? I agree with you actually 100%. And I am a big Tyler fan, but less and less every movie. And I think it's because he's playing into the cool guy thing. And it's like, you know, you kind of have to if you're that one. But I 100% agree with you. And I still think, you know, he pulls it out. He was fine in this movie because he's always going to be Tyler. He's going to be cooler than he needs to be.
Like in
he's
the
always playing the
last
cool
movie,
guy.
it kind of made sense because he was supposed to be this like super cool guy in high school or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, you know, that was just a terrible plot for Never Been Chris. But then this, I just was like, I don't know. It just feels like a putz to me. Like this is not sexy to me. The like, I don't know, the cool guy
No,
on the
it's been
motorcycle.
done.
Like
Especially
Very
the
fair.
toothpick. I mean, the toothpick is always there, and
Yeah.
I kind of want him to retire that shtick. It just seems like a bit of a
Me
shtick.
too.
I mean,
for
I
me.
think the toothpick was most appropriate in this role.
Okay,
He
fine,
kind of looks
maybe
like
for
a
the
Guido.
role.
He was like wearing like, the tracksuit and the
But he didn't work
chains.
it in every role. That's the
Yeah.
difference, right? Like
It's just
Yeah,
like
that's
this
true.
was better than the last two, I think. Like weird stalker movie, and then
Oh, was that the photo of her, the picture of her?
yeah, that was
I didn't like
So
that one at
that's
all.
a good example because I really liked that one because I kind of have a crush on Rhiannon. So it's
Oh,
the same.
yeah.
It's the Tyler
She's-
goggles, right? But
she's
I liked that
good.
one because I thought they were cute. Whatever, But the
Yeah,
stalker,
I liked her in
definitely
My
thought-
Norwegian, but
I
Yeah.
loved that one, and I
Yeah.
thought she was a lot better than that. I'm not a huge fan of hers because I think she falls into the baby talk. A lot of the actresses who do that
yeah.
baby talk, and I
Yeah.
can't really stand that.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
she didn't
so
do that in that one. She
sorry
didn't
to
do
go back to what I was talking about was we both agree that the performance has elevated it.
Yes.
I think Kat Burrell was more the standout for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
didn't
really
think-
liked her in this movie, even though I thought she was like too good for this movie.
See, I
Yeah.
thought, okay, see, I'm not going to say that Tyler was too good for the movie. He was my standout. But I feel like he deserves better. Like he deserves a better story than this, even though he does the same thing over and over again. We've seen what he's capable of in other movies. I've seen that vulnerable side of him
Yeah.
before, and that sweet side, like you were saying. And I'm tired. Yeah, I'm tired of him playing the same thing over and over again. And I feel like did they just stick him in here just to get people to watch it? Like I just feel like they just plopped him in, and it was
Yeah.
he didn't. He
I
deserves more than
do have a
this.
theory about that.
Yeah.
But this goes into my whole rant thing, and I don't know if it's the time or I do it at the end or
Uh-huh.
it's more regional. It's about like how they film these
Well,
movies
okay.
in Canada.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So
I don't know. I feel like with Three Wise Men, they captured that nerdy energy really well. Because he was like living in the basement and I enjoyed
Yeah.
that character because he wasn't trying to be cool. He was just him. Like, that's just who he
He
was.
knew he couldn't be as cool because he was living at home.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah.
automatically knocked down a peg.
he was
Yeah.
genuinely funny and genuinely like endearing in that one.
Yeah.
More
Mhm.
so than in this. In this one, like it's just like you could have easily. It's not memorable. Like the performance isn't
No.
memorable at all.
And the
you
thing
know?
that stands out in the performance was that he did something that you don't usually see his character do, or I don't know how well he's going through the scripts, but like be the daddy no, don't take over the business. Like
Yeah.
you don't usually see him in that role. That's almost like that's an old one.
Yeah.
him
He kind of
to bite
saved
onto.
the business, in this case.
Yeah.
Save
It's
the
like save the farm, save the
But
the,
going
uh,
against the big cheese that just happened to be his dad that
Yeah.
also didn't look
who
like his
also
dad.
looked like
His
the
brother,
same
or
age.
maybe.
Like they
Like-
looked
I know. I was like,
That
wait,
was
is
really
Tyler
funny.
supposed to be playing someone significantly younger than what he actually is? I don't know. I honestly, when they had that first phone conversation, which is how we meet the dad over the phone, I for sure was like, oh, that's the brother. They're in
Yeah.
business together. And you were like, no, I'm pretty sure that's his dad.
Yeah,
And I'm
that-
I'm
like,
pretty sure he said dad.
that's an odd
yeah, it
casting
was
choice.
surprising to me too. I mean, I think that they were a little bit of a strange match, Cat Barrel and Tyler. It was
I didn't
fine.
buy
Like
it.
again, the
I didn't
movie I
buy
thought
it.
was like fine, but I think it was a missed opportunity because it seems like to me, if you're gonna have this make or mark and give Crystal the chance to direct, why not like have some diverse casting? Why not do something a little bit bold to go along with this like this inclusive directing, right? Like why not
Yeah.
have Crystal be the lead? That would have been amazing. I mean, and if she-
Absolutely.
if she doesn't want to, like, if that's too much to take on, I could understand. But like,
yeah.
I don't know, it just seems like a missed opportunity to not have
It
somebody.
seemed very safe. Maybe that was on purpose. Maybe, your first time out, we
Yeah.
want to give you something easy to kind of work with.
Well, yeah, but okay,
Maybe.
there's
There's
easy I get, but I feel like, there's Hallmark A scripts and B scripts, A actors, B actors. They gave her a B script
I agree.
in a B location with A actors.
They also,
And it was
I,
like, here, patch it up.
I feel like they didn't give much of a budget either. And you would think for this kind
No.
of a campaign that they would like spend money. Like the very first Mahogany movie, they spent money on that. And then they've gone significantly downhill for the most part. But with, it felt like it was a little bit cheap. just in the production
Yeah, I can
design,
see that.
the
Yeah.
sound design. Like when they were by that creek, you could hear the water so loud.
Yes.
And that's when you can always tell the difference between like the ones for Up TV, the ones for the the little bit of a lesser budget. The sound design is a big clue.
The sound design was actually off for this whole movie. I remember
Yes,
there
it
was
There's a lot of
a
bad
scene.
ADR.
There was there was bad ADR.
There's always
yes.
bad ADR.
But there, in particular, in what my mind first goes to is there is a scene where they're sitting outside on the bench and there's a party going on in the house and they're playing disco music or something like that. And this was supposed to be a very revelatory, serious kind of talk that the two of them were going to have.
Oh.
And I was completely distracted by the music in the house.
It was like a minute and a half of Tyler like kind of pouring his heart out, and it was literally like, it was like,
okay, I don't know what Tyler is saying here. This is obviously important, but yeah.
So to me, it was surprising because like I usually don't mention those kinds of things in the podcast and reviews and things because it is what it is with Hallmark. But I guess I just found it particularly surprising that with this like initiative with this Make or Mark that they wouldn't have put some like it was just so obvious that this was a B script, like you said, and that it didn't have much of a budget.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
Pretty much. And
it's unfortunate.
So I mean, I guess it being filmed in Ontario was nice, and I think the reason they got Tyler and Kat was because they live down the street, right?
Well, they're from there.
We're not far from there either.
Yeah.
So Tyler was able to bring his mom on set. His two nieces were in the film.
The movie.
It was nice little incentives like that, so you get the A actors.
And the Caparel's husband.
Caparel's, well, he was in the movie.
He was in the movie. He was the reality
show
host.
Yeah. The guy that looked like Paul Giamatti's twin, or younger brother.
I mean, if they really wanted to be bold, they on Good Witch, Kat Barrel played a character that has a relationship with this woman named Kiana Teresa. This is the actor's name. And and they had incredible chemistry and they were so good. And like that would have been really exciting if they had matched them together. But I get it that maybe they're not ready for that. But I don't know. It just seems like a missed opportunity when you're starting this new initiative to be, encourage women filmmakers. Like, why make it such a white movie?
Yeah,
why not give it a better budget? Why not make it a better script?
Or give her more control. Like maybe, it does feel like it was like, okay, well, here's your first one, and we gave you Tyler, and it's like
the Suits had a lot of say in I think what went into this, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I can say as a Canadian watcher, we look very closely at where they film things, and as soon as something's filmed in our hometown, like
know
Ontario,
the budget wasn't there.
Know the budget's not there. We know immediately. Really? As soon as we see the production company, unfortunately, and some of them I've even worked with, I'm like, oh no. And I did that with this movie. And within the first 2 minutes, I was able to see the production difference. And I'm like, that's a bummer because like they're starting her off bad. It's like, it's unfortunate, but the movies that come out of British Columbia, the A movies, the A location,
they have more budget.
They feel like American cinematic rom-coms with, slightly less production, but it looks good.
Yeah.
These ones they look like Canadian.
Well,
there's no other way to say it. It looks like Canadian television.
And I can appreciate kind of, a low budget, messy, movie. I like some of the up ones and stuff. But like, I guess it's just surprising that they wouldn't have put their best foot forward for this Make or Mark to me. That's what makes it surprising.
I'm hoping they start safe and they start small and they start not great, but it will evolve to something better. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
Yeah, hopefully they do lots of these. And I know that they are going to offer it to
they are going to open up the submissions. They're opening up the circle. So right now it's only available to within the Hallmark circle. So if you're an actor, an actress within Hallmark already, that opportunity is granted to you. But I did read an article that Ashley Williams is opening up the submissions to everybody. And I'm going to try. I'm going to try.
Definitely should.
Hey,
for sure.
You should. That would be amazing.
Definitely.
Hey, this is David from the Piecing It Together podcast, a podcast about movies and the movies that inspire them. For over 4 years, each week, a guest and I take a look at a new movie through the lens of what other movies we think were either an influence or connect in some other way. It's a fun, unique way to discuss films that leads to a great list of other movies to check out that either explore the same themes and ideas or maybe utilize similar filmmaking techniques. Including special episodes in our side series that twist the format, we've done over 200 episodes, so there's bound to be one on a film you've been thinking about and want to dig deeper into. So check us out on all the major podcasting apps and at piecingpod.com.
Oh, there was some nice moments. We don't want to be too negative. That
Oh, no,
I liked how thoughtful Tyler was about her and how it kind of showed her anxiety and how she was kind of dealing with it and how nervous she was, and that kind of journey of the characters I thought was nice and well done.
I enjoyed some scenes.
There was definitely a lot of scenes that were good. There was nothing about this movie that was like, oh, I disliked it. There was nothing that even stood out as like, oh, I really got to talk bad about it. It's just
no, and usually we don't like to bash, not continuously anyway. We like to try and find the good in it. And I liked the scene where they were roller skating, and I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah.
That was actually the best production too. I like how they handled
the lighting was nice, the mood was nice, the pacing was really good in that scene. I did, however, notice them trying to remedy the height difference between the two of them. That was kind of glaringly obvious to me.
There was only one scene I noticed they did it glaringly obvious where they had him across the street and they did like a forced perspective thing, and I was like, he's only he's like a half an inch shorter than him.
She's a tall girl though, and obviously some people think it looks odd.
I mean, her husband's even shorter than Tyler, so you got to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if they just that was it. Like, some people are shorter. Who cares?
Just accept it. Accept it.
Exactly. But it actually did seem like they kind of accepted it in this movie because there was a lot of scenes with them like, dead on height.
I don't think she was actually wearing the roller skates though in those scenes.
No, there was one. I saw a picture on her Instagram that was him wearing the roller skates and her just in socks.
Yeah, so she wasn't wearing any.
But they do that for the effect a lot anyways, where, if somebody can't skate as well.
Sure, of course. There was also some fun dialogue in this, though. There was one line that Kat had, you look like you sell bonds. He's like, you look good. And then she's like, well, you look like you sell bonds. Like right when they first see each other. And I thought
that goes to your other point, Rachel. I was like, why does he roll up in a motorcycle, the intro in like a blue suit? Like, that looks so
it was a bit much.
Because he's going to the corporate meeting. That's why.
Yes, that's why.
Because he's a sellout.
Yeah. But in terms of like being, if we want to categorize this as one of the smaller movies, B movies, whatever you want to say, I thought the writing actually wasn't that bad.
No, there was no cringe.
The dialogue, I should say the dialogue.
It just didn't grab.
For the most part, I agree. There was one really cringe moment to me though when he says craft womanship. I'm like, come on, no,
I didn't catch.
Oh my god,
that was by twice.
Yeah, there was at the host or whatever saying we put your craftsmanship on display or something like that. And Tyler's like, you mean craft womanship? I'm like, oh, come on.
Okay, we get it.
That's not being pro woman. That's just being cringe.
I wonder whose ad lib that was. That wasn't
There's not a woman in the world that would say that or want that to be said.
No.
Yeah.
There were some directing choices that I wasn't a huge fan of either. I'm not a huge fan of the overuse of split screens, and I thought that this movie used a lot of them.
They did. That's true.
I mean, that's like 1 out of every 4 Hallmark movies probably has it, right?
And I understand why. It's very easy, convenient way to show multiple things going on. No, it's definitely a personal choice, but it just goes
to be overdone.
I think it was overdone in this one, but hey, maybe that just goes to
their banter between each other when like she says that it's it's no shame to lose to me and then he kind of snaps back and she says my ex-boyfriend is going completely insane and things like that. Like there was some nice banter kind of between that, and when he says I didn't take anybody's side and he says, well, maybe that's the problem. Like, okay. And so there was, I think, some pretty good banter elevated by two good performers.
For sure.
That part felt natural, right? And I thought Kat was quite funny, especially when she was dissing him in the competition. It was great.
Yeah.
I also like some of the music choices, though, actually. We were saying that the Motown, when she works in the shop and stuff, she's always listening to Motown. And I thought that was an interesting choice.
It was definitely like a Detroit feel. I think it was supposed to be in Detroit. They never really go too far into
So
it.
I liked the music choices too.
What do we think about this competition in general? American High Gear.
I
What
didn't.
are they
Okay,
doing
to
exactly?
be
So there's
honest,
like a
I didn't
trivia
understand it.
round.
I
There's
didn't
like a-
understand it.
Yeah, there's like a trivia round, and then there's like
And then skill, and then
How do you get
painting.
points?
and then speed round, and then I guess it's kind of like
Did
kind
it
of like
make
cranium.
sense? Did it make sense to you, like what they were doing?
Not really.
Not really,
didn't.
but like you have to. The other thing is, I'm not a mechanic, right? You have to.
Well, the
These shows
final
are always
round was,
built
I
for
guess,
those people.
painting the
Mhm.
car.
Right. So
Yeah.
wait,
Which
was the
makes
whole
sense.
thing?
It's like finesse. That's the finesse part. So it's like you gotta, the brute strength is the grinding, and then you gotta
Yeah.
do the knowledge, and then it's a standard competition.
I didn't
I
get
think the
it.
competition idea was interesting. I don't think it would ever fly.
It's interesting because, well, first of all, it's interesting because Tyler's already done a very similar movie back in his before pre-Hallmark days, Mechanics of Love, which is a
Really?
lot better
Oh.
than this, unfortunately.
Oh
but
wow, I didn't know that.
We haven't seen
where
that.
there's a mechanic and they have a backstory and
Oh my
very
God.
similar. So you should check that out. But also, what's interesting is last Christmas, there was a movie called Christmas by Design. And it wasn't the best movie, but it was based on this movie called it's based on this book called Jingle Jammies. And the book, the girl is a mechanic in the book. And
Oh really? And they changed it?
They changed it. And the male character in the book is a designer. And they changed it for the movie because
That's so weird.
one has to wonder that. So the only way that we can have a female mechanic in a Hallmark movie is if they're both mechanics.
Yeah,
they can't have
be
a
mechanic love.
Yeah, they because I guess you can't have
you can't
a
do
male,
something less manly, right?
Right.
Yeah, you can't have a male designer, but it made the movie way worse because in the book Jingle Jammies, he is a designer of Christmas jammies, like that people buy like the sets and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's always coming up with these he's always coming up with these creative prints and all this stuff like that. And he's known for that. And whereas like in the way that they translated it for the female character, she was just kind of like a designer, what? And anyway,
I didn't know that was the adaptation.
Yeah. So if you read the book is like a million times better and more funny. And she's this mechanic and kind of tough, and he's this and anyway, I just think it's kind of interesting that not only have we already seen this almost the same movie from Tyler, but also
I feel like there's another connection there too. Christmas by Design. Who directed that one?
Oh, I don't know.
That one wasn't Cat because
no.
Oh no, that was Christmas Everything. Okay, yeah.
No, Christmas Everywhere.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot she did direct last year.
She directs, yeah.
Yeah. But
I mean, I don't know. In terms of the whole mechanic thing, I, for one, am not. I think I've said this before in one of our reviews or in many of our reviews. If I see one more mechanic role in a Hallmark movie, I'm going to turn it off.
That was only because
whether it's a man or a woman.
3 in a row during
Christmas. There was
year,
like 2 or 3 in a row for Christmas, and I was like, can't they just come up with a different profession?
Who knows how you want to give this profession a legacy because
maybe, but I was
electric
tired.
cars, maybe you don't need it as much.
I was just tired of it.
The one thing I think this movie totally nailed was I thought the kiss was really good.
It was good.
Yeah, I wrote that down. It was very
good.
I mean, she jumped his bones.
Yes, like Tyler always nails the kisses, even in a not great movie. He knows how to like. He's just so intimate about it, and like. It makes you feel invested, even if you're not enjoying the movie. He's great at that, and
definitely
for sure. But I feel she had the upper hand in this one. She took charge. Like she was the kisser.
Like subtly, like one of my favorite things is like the subtle handhold of like, oh, moving over, oh, we're holding hands.
So romantic,
yeah, it was so good. And then she just goes for it.
Yeah,
which
that was great.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts. And I think I literally clapped.
That was
that's a good one.
Finally, yes.
And then there's a second kiss. So she goes for it. They kiss, and then they like kind of look and like, whoa, and then they go again.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's another. We got multiple. I mean, I was actually expecting more, but being exes kind of killed a lot of chance for that, right?
Maybe.
I mean, for a lot of times in Hallmark, we don't get the kiss till the last 30 seconds.
Right at the end.
No, a
to
lot
get
of the
like
time.
such a good kiss with a bit left, I was very happy about that.
Yeah.
It's one of the better ones we've seen.
For sure. And as you said, Tyler's like the master at that. He's just, I don't know, he's just got a knack for it. On screen too, which is tough.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
This whole thing where he accidentally sprays her car and then she gets really upset. And I kind of wish that I think it was an opportunity for like a more creative solution.
Yeah, other than just take his color and kind of
like the solution was to like make flames, I guess.
Yeah.
Out of the
which I don't even know how that would be possible.
Because I think it was like her color was red, right?
Yes.
Yeah, her color was
then
red,
when he sprayed a little bit of blue, she's like, well, I'll just do the rest of it blue and leave that tiny little bit of
I think it would have been cute if basically he'd seen he'd done this, he felt bad, and then he basically like called his and her dad, and he was like, we need a team, and basically they all came together and fixed her car.
That's a great idea.
Like, I think that would have been really cute.
Brings everybody together.
Yeah.
No, I like that. Yeah.
That's good. Do you usually do that? I like that you have like, it could have gone this way. She does that all the time. Where
I do that sometimes.
Here's how it should have ended. Here's what they should have done.
I do that often, but I like that idea for sure.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
I think we get along well, Danielle.
Another thing in terms of that spray paint thing. Okay, you see it accidentally go off and it kind of spits out this paint. And then the next shot, the next cut is almost the whole car covered in blue. And I feel like there's a continuity error.
Well,
I feel like
the problem with that is they couldn't get the shot of the paint thing
moving around,
which is what it was doing. They didn't even do the audio. They were just like, maybe they tried and it looked so bad. They just cut it out. So they just had the nozzle and then it was like.
There was no way that much paint would have got on her car.
Yeah. Plus
from that little like nozzle thing.
It definitely could have,
when the paint is still wet, I feel like you can kind of wipe it off.
I
don't know.
He gave up.
We don't know how to paint cars, but maybe.
I mean, I have no clue. How to paint
cars. No, either do I.
It would seem like
it would spray around.
It would seem like if it's still wet, you could wipe it off.
I would think so too. There was like a disconnect between those two scenes for me. I was like, wait, what's going on? Is it really that detrimental? Like, is it ruined now? I was questioning that.
No, it's just not enough time to make it good.
Yeah, I guess so, but
yeah. So there was some nice moments, I thought, between her and her dad. I thought that was more effective than him and his dad.
Yeah, definitely. They were closer, and it felt. I got to say, the first half of the movie, though, I was like, "What is he hiding?" I didn't realize it was about the garage,
about the business.
But then but they were nice together for sure.
Yeah, I liked that, and I did like though when he tells his dad, he says. He resigns and he's like, I've lost the most important person to me, and I'm going to see she doesn't lose the most important thing to her.
That's a great line.
That was
a nice line.
That was great.
Yeah, that was another reason that the writing wasn't bad. It just
the dialogue itself was
lines, like some real like stand out.
The dialogue was great.
Yeah, I just felt like it was basic, like it was fine, but it's just kind of like, this is this. It felt a little like the
dialogue's great. But
like
it was good. The dialogue had moments. It had moments. I just said the overall story was lacking, I think.
Well, it's a lot to go through, and it's like it depends on what you pull out of it.
I also think it could have been fun if they end up working together on the car. If like there'd been like a surprise, it's a tie.
I know. I kind of saw it going that way, but I was like, no, I don't think they're gonna go there.
Yeah.
No,
like,
she had to win it.
Won. We kissed,
she had to win it for sure.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
After the money's needed, it has to happen.
Yeah.
So so she ends up winning, and she also ends up
That's her own
getting her own
show.
show.
I
The
know.
Community Garage.
That part wasn't cringe.
I rolled
but
my eyes.
I laughed out loud. I was like,
I
like,
definitely.
here's your own show.
I was like, of course. Now I find myself saying that at the ending of a lot of Hallmark movies. Well, of course, it's going to end up being perfect for you, right?
And everything worked out perfectly.
I mean, that was a bit. It's to be expected in a Hallmark movie. Everything has a nice resolution, and everything works out like fantastically well for our like lead. But I did roll my eyes. I was like, oh my God, okay, her own show? All right, I guess. I mean, okay, let's just roll with it.
It's gotta happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny with these Hallmark movies because you always have sort of the bad man of business. In this case, it was his dad, so it was like a little different. But you have the bad man of business who's like, really only cares about business and making money. But like, oddly enough, our heroines almost always are also obsessed with business.
Mm-hmm.
What is her like sole motivation throughout this whole movie?
Work.
It's business.
Money.
It's the shop. It's
the shop getting money.
Yeah. That's her. And I get it. Like wanting to be successful and wanting to save a family business. I can understand that, but I don't know. I just think it's kind of ironic that we are often so focused on material possessions.
I mean, it just gets worse and worse, though. That's the problem. Nobody's ever happy. It doesn't matter if you're about to lose the garage or you just want to buy one that's twice as big or turn it into an inn, or it's like it's never going to be enough. That's just people in our generation or these generations, I guess.
But like, does Hallmark even explore an alternative to that? I feel like they always are revolved around that kind of storyline. You know what I mean? Like
people always
the
talk
going
about,
out of business. We need to get money to save the business.
Yeah.
You need to get a job to become successful. Oh, I'm going to get the job then. Like everything, it's like
because people always talk about You've Got Mail.
It's a greeting card company, right?
But the thing about You've Got Mail is that the store closes. She has to evolve.
See?
She has to adapt. She has to become this new person by the end of it. And
it's true.
And that almost never happens in a Hallmark movie, which can be fine.
Yeah, you need more loss, more disaster.
More reality.
More disaster to come back from.
But then would it really be a Hallmark movie?
Yeah.
We come to these movies, expecting certain things, an escape, if you will.
I mean, if you can do death, you can do heavy loss.
Well, they definitely explore loss and grief. And they had that in this movie too. Her mother passed away. And those were some really poignant moments, actually, when she was talking about her mom.
Mm-hmm.
They don't shy away from that stuff, but I just feel like they don't ever explore, what if it doesn't work out? What if you don't get the job? What if you didn't win the contest? What if, you know what I mean? Like,
can be.
That's why I really appreciate this wasn't for a lifetime. I mean, this wasn't for Hallmark, it was for Lifetime. Sugar and Spice Holiday. I don't know if you saw that though a couple of years ago. It was very good. And she has this moment where she's had a fight with the guy. So she's lost the contest that she's in for the moment, at least. She didn't get the promotion at work. So nothing is going right. And she just has this moment where she turns to her dad and just starts crying. And she's like, I am a failure in my life. And I was just like, oh. And you just feel for her character. And then of course, like things change but you see like a full growth with this character. You become attached to her because she's been real.
Yeah, even if she breaks down for 5 seconds, it's like it's still a chink in the armor. Moment. It's something. You definitely don't get that a lot.
Real Hallmark, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean it's eking in. We're getting a little more reality with stuff, I think.
Yeah.
But it's hard to shake the confines of what it was all built on, right?
Yeah.
Well, Hallmark. Yeah, I mean it's all about that, right?
Good feelings and greeting cards.
Greeting cards.
Yeah. I did like the niece. I think that was her niece, right? Eden.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Kristen Booth was supposed to be her sister or niece? Like whatever. If it wasn't her actual niece, it was like basically her niece was the role, Anyway, and that was nice. She was a cute, I thought, young actress, and of course she's a photographer because everybody that's artistic in Hallmark is a photographer.
Yeah.
But that was, nice to see. There were some fun scenes. I thought she was cute.
Agreed. I thought there were a lot of fun scenes in the movie. It's just kind of how they clumped together.
Yeah.
How old was she? How old was she supposed to be?
I think she was supposed to be like in high school, I think.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty, yeah. I mean, usually I get annoyed. Well, I get annoyed with like little kids, depending on the performance, but this one was actually tolerable. She didn't really stand out to me at all because I'm like, no, what do you know what I mean? But like, I'm finding even a hard time to kind of like remember the scenes that she was in. She didn't really stand out to me, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe she was just a good supporting cast, you know?
Last question. Do you support pizza and ranch dressing?
Oh, that's a weird
that
one.
Whole scene.
Wait. That seems like an American thing. I'm going to say yes too because we do have dipping sauce for our pizza. I don't need it, but I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I think it's a yes.
What about you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm much more than pineapple. No, I'm not a fan.
That's our fault. That's Canadian.
That's Canadian. That's Canadian pizza for sure. But ranch?
I'll mess
why
with
not?
that too. Yeah, ranch. I mean, ranch is great. I don't think you can really eat it. But.
No. I mean, I have like a lactose issue, but if I didn't, I would be all over ranch and pizza. I think that's.
I feel like we don't get enough ranch in Canada.
No, we don't. Ranch isn't really a huge thing here.
Yeah. Oh, really?
It's there. Yeah, it's not really a huge,
It's pretty good. Well, there we go. That's the movie. You know, it was cute enough.
You know what? I don't see myself rewatching it, and that does say a lot. It's not very memorable to me. So
I agree. Yeah.
That's fair. But a good first outing for the Make or Mark.
Let's hope it gets better, though.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they
better.
have a lot more. I hope they extend it to like screenwriters or other jobs for.
Well, it should be open to the public soon. At the end of March, they said. So.
Oh, yeah? That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, this was a great chance to have you both on. This was a lot of fun. And if people want to follow you all, your channel, everything you're doing, how do they do that?
So we're on YouTube at Hit or Miss Hallmark Movie Reviews. And we have a X, I guess, formerly known as Twitter, at Hit or Miss Hallmark, at Hit or Miss Hallmark. That's the only socials that we have, so YouTube and Twitter.
Okay, great.
X.
Great. Very good. You shall check it out. And I'll put all that links in the description.
Thanks for having us on the show. This was awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun. And we'll definitely have you back for sure.
Yeah, we would love that.
Yeah. So, all right, we did it. Very good.
Yay.
Amazing.
I'd like to thank John and Danielle for coming on the podcast. This was a lot of fun to get to talk with them. And we'll definitely have them back. I really enjoyed it. So I hope you did too. Put your comments, what you thought of the movie, and we thought of what we talked about. Love to hear what you have to say in the comment section, and let us know also on Twitter. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store, so check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.